There are a whole lot of heroes in the MCU, a whole lot of villains too, with some incredible fighting skill. They're soldiers, warriors, aliens, even gods, and they're all seriously good fighters. And today, let's take a look at all these characters, ranking them all from worst to best when it comes to fighting skill. So let's get to it. The Red Guardian was Russia's answer to Captain America. While there might have been a time when he could actually contend with Steve Rogers, those days are long behind him. But still, he's a super soldier, he's superhuman. When I put on some pounds, he's still incredibly strong and a very hard man to beat in a fight. But when it actually comes to fighting skill, well, Red Guardian has never really been the most impressive one out of the bunch. Wasp is Ant-Man's partner in crime, and while she can't grow big, she can shrink down real small. She's able to fly, she can shoot out laser blast at will, but more than any of that, well, she's a surprisingly skilled fighter, especially with her size-altering powers. She helped train Scott, taught him everything he knows, which is mostly a mixture of judo, jiu-jitsu, and kickboxing. Crossbones has worked with both S.H.I.E.L.D. and Hydra, and because of that, well, Rumlow had become a world-class combatant, with extensive experience in street fighting, martial arts, and different military techniques. And after getting his super-powered suit, well, he got a serious power upgrade to go along with it. However, when he ran across a true fighter, well, Cap showed him how it was done. John Walker was who the US government chose to replace Steve Rogers as Captain America. But when he murdered someone in broad daylight, well, then Sam Wilson took over the mantle from him. But the government wasn't done with John. They recruited him in secret to serve as US agent. John isn't as skilled or capable a fighter as the OG Captain America, so when he lost one too many fights, well, he decided to amp himself with the super soldier serum, and then US agent became insanely powerful. He was able to fight against Falcon and Winter Soldier at the same time. But he's still not the most skilled fighter, and that's ultimately always gonna hold him back. Echo might be the most forgettable person on this list, which is surprising. She got her own TV show. She's a skilled fighter, was able to survive fights against Daredevil and Hawkeye, but it really is just her surviving the fight standing. They're still beating up on her, and if Hawkeye is regularly able to beat you, well, you're only going to get so high on this list. Punisher is the ultimate soldier. When his family was brutally murdered, well, he took his war to the streets and against all crime. He's one of the best fighters on the planet, able to fight on par with Daredevil, and actually beat him in a fight, and is a true physical force. He's incredibly strong and ridiculously tough, but his main thing are guns. And he's an expert shot, he rarely misses. It's basically a one-man army. Nebula was a former assassin, daughter of Thanos, and actually an enemy to the Guardians. But although it took some convincing, she eventually joined up with the team and found a family. Thanks to being rebuilt and programmed by Thanos, Nebula is superhumanly strong, superhumanly tough, and even has a regenerative healing factor. She can quickly heal and reshape her body from what would otherwise have been fatal attacks. Nebula is also a highly skilled and well-trained fighter. Thanks to her new Bud rocket, she's got an incredible new cybernetic arm that works a lot like Iron Man's nanite armor. She can instantly reshape it and transform it into basically any weapon imaginable. It really sucks that Iron Fist is so low down on this list, because he should be one of the best fighters in all of Marvel. And don't get me wrong, he is a really skilled fighter, an expert in all sorts of different styles of kung fu, other martial arts, but like we saw when he battled against Daredevil, when Iron Fist went up against some of the most skilled fighters on the planet, well, he was getting beat. So I don't really want to put him all that higher on the list. Valkyrie was a member of Asgard's elite fighting force before teaming up with Thor to help defeat Hela, and then even going on to become King of Asgard herself. She's superhumanly strong and powerful, nearly on par with someone like Iron Man. She's one of the most skilled and capable warriors in the universe. And after helping defeat Zeus, well, Valkyrie took his thunderbolt for herself, meaning she can now control and generate lightning. Another daughter of Thanos, Gamora is easily the most skilled fighter out of all of the Guardians. I mean, there's a reason why she's known as the deadliest woman in the galaxy and as a living weapon. She's a superhuman on par with Drax and Nebula, but where Gamora really does shine is her skill. She was regularly able to beat Nebula just over and over again in their spars, and her skill was so great that Thanos himself considered her to be the finest out of all his children and the fiercest woman in the galaxy. Okoye is the leader of the Dora Milaje, an elite fighting force and the Black Panther's personal security. She's easily one of the greatest fighters on the planet, a highly skilled martial artist with her vibranium spear, while she's able to actually take on a lot bigger foes than you would think. Yelena Belova is the sister of Natasha Romanoff, another deadly and highly trained Black Widow. She's one of the best fighters on the planet. She can fight on par with Hawkeye and other Black Widows. And of course, she's a highly trained Black Widow assassin. So she's got all the gear and weapons that you could possibly want in a fight. Hawkeye is another ultimate spy and assassin, on top of being the world's best shot and marksman. There isn't a shot he can't make. The man just doesn't miss. And as the years have gone on, his arrow arsenal has just gotten more and more impressive. Hawkeye might not look it, but he can take down a lot of enemies with just one well-placed arrow. He also showed off just how skilled of a fighter he was during his time as the Ronin, pretty much single-handedly wiping out most criminal empires left after the snap. Elektra is an elite assassin, as well as being Daredevil's on-again, off-again lover. She was trained under Stick, an extremely skilled hand-to-hand fighter. She's actually one of the deadliest people on the planet, because Elektra definitely has no problem with killing you. She can easily beat members of the Hand. She was able to confidently beat the Iron Fist. Elektra proved herself to be even a match for Daredevil. She's one of the best fighters out there. Wolverine is easily the most famous X-Men, complete with his signature adamantium claws and healing factor. He's incredibly strong and powerful, can survive literally any attack that comes his way, even nuclear bombs. With his adamantium claws, well, you really don't want to get caught in between them. He's a skilled fighter, a lethal killer. He's the best at what he does. And what he does isn't pretty. Black Widow is the ultimate spy and assassin. She's one of the most agile and skilled fighters on Earth, and actually has some seriously powerful weapons. Like her Widow's Bite can send Ant-Man flying and actually stun Black Panther through his vibranium suit. She's one of the most dangerous women on the planet. Mastered many different styles of fighting, she can take down whole groups of people all by herself, even beat up and fight other Black Widows. Deadpool's got a healing factor that's basically on par with Wolverine himself, able to instantly heal from essentially any injury or any attack. On top of that, well, Deadpool is an elite mercenary, one of the best fighters and killers on the planet. After surviving an attempted assassination but being gravely injured, Taskmaster was experimented on by the Red Room, and in the process, implanted with a microchip that allowed her to have photographic reflexes. So by viewing how another person fights, Taskmaster is able to perfectly replicate his or her fighting style and movements, including the likes of Captain America, Black Widow, Spider-Man, and Winter Soldier. She's an excellent fighter and assassin, and a very, very hard woman to beat, because fighting Taskmaster is basically like fighting the best version of yourself. Death Dealer is the guy who's in charge of training different fighters within the 10 rings. And because of that, well, he's actually the one who trained Shang-Chi. He's an extremely skilled and formidable warrior, and while he was eventually passed by his student, the Death Dealer was still able to hold his own in a fight with Shang-Chi. Zhao Ling is Shang-Chi's sister and Wenwu's daughter, and as the leader of the 10 rings, well, you know she's got to be a seriously good and skilled fighter. The best part is that she's actually self-taught. She wasn't allowed to train with the men, so she just went out there and trained herself, becoming one of the greatest fighters in the world in the process. And Zhao Ling proved that by actually being able to beat Shang-Chi in a fight, although Shang-Chi was clearly holding back and didn't want to actually fight her. Eric Killmonger is one of the best villains out there, and the king of Wakanda for a little while, which means he gets access to all the great stuff that comes along with being a Black Panther. He too took the heart-shaped herb, gained the powers of the Black Panther, and all the strength and abilities of a super soldier. And Killmonger got access to Wakandan tech too. All sorts of vibranium tech and gadgets, and Killmonger is a lethal and deadly fighter. He's got plenty of experience killing anyone standing in his way. The God of Thunder, for a lot of years, Thor was able to hold onto the title as strongest Avenger and most powerful hero in the MCU. He's the only hero who's legitimately shown off planetary level strength on screen. He's battled against some of the toughest villains out there. He's definitely powerful on a whole different level than most every other hero. But the biggest thing is that he's got literal millennia of fighting experience. He's a warrior through and through. He's one of the most dangerous fighters in all the 9 realms. Bucky Barnes was the second successful attempt at creating a super soldier, as he was injected with a serum similar to Captain America's while he was being held hostage by Hydra in the 1940s. It was this serum that allowed him to survive the fall off the train, that allowed him to become the Winter Soldier, that allowed him to fight against the likes of Captain America and Black Panther. The only thing is, his serum wasn't strong enough to allow him to save his arm, but hey, you know what? A vibranium arm might be even better in the grand scheme of things. T'Challa was the king of Wakanda, and as such got access to the heart-shaped herb and all the crazy powers that come along with it. And Black Panther is a lot like Captain America and Winter Soldier, a superhuman super fighter. But what sets him apart from the bunch is his access to all the vibranium tech. It makes him dang near indestructible in a fight. Takes a villain like Thanos to knock him out. And if he stores enough energy inside the suit, well, he's able to floor Hulk-level characters. And in terms of fighting skill, well, T'Challa has proven himself to be a match for Killmonger, Winter Soldier, Captain America. He's an elite fighter. Thena's one of the most powerful Eternals, a brave, unflinching warrior while in battle. You definitely want Thena on your side in a fight, except for when she loses her mind and straight up attacks you. Outside of that, she's a good person to have on your team. She's very strong and very fast and very skilled. But more important, she can create any weapon in an instant, right out of the palm of her hand. She's got a millennia of fighting experience. She's incredibly fast and fluid in a fight, and her ability to create all sorts of different weapons in an instant makes her pretty much unpredictable and unstoppable. Captain America is the leader of the Avengers, and is basically the pinnacle of human potential. He's incredibly strong, that shield of his is nearly indestructible, and he's one of the best fighters on the planet. I mean, Captain America is so impressive that he had Deadpool gushing and even Thanos shocked. But seriously, Captain America is such a good fighter. He's a master of all sorts of different fighting styles, has plenty of experience being in different combat situations, and it really doesn't hurt that he's literally a super soldier. With his power and skill, Captain America is more than a match for most fighters out there. Matt Murdock is Daredevil, blind lawyer by day and street vigilante by night. While he might not be superhuman, his senses do come in handy. Between his hearing and smell, well, to some degree, make him dang near omniscient. But the best thing going for Daredevil is just his pure skill. He's one of the most technically skilled fighters on Earth. It's very, very hard, if not dang near impossible, to actually beat Matt in just a pure skill fight. He's a master of countless different fighting styles, has no problem taking down other skilled fighters and killers. Daredevil truly is one of the best out there. The Asgardian goddess of death and Odin's firstborn, Hela was banished for her bloodlust. When she eventually managed to make her way back, well, she came back with a vengeance. Hela has a mystical connection to Asgard, meaning that she's more powerful there than anywhere else. So her feats might be a little skewed, but she was able to dominate in her fight against Thor every single time. Made it look easy. And it's not like she wasn't powerful anywhere else. She literally shattered Mjolnir the palm of her hand while still on the earth. She's one of the best fighters in all the realms, able to completely wipe out the entire Asgardian army all by herself. Thanos, for a good long while, he stood up on top of the MCU as the most powerful being there is, mostly because he had the Infinity Gauntlet and no one else did. So never forget that Thanos was the OG. Never forget that he managed to kill literally half of the entire universe. He's a warlord, a genocidal maniac, and one of the biggest powerhouses to date. And even outside of the gauntlet, well, Thanos is still able to absolutely wipe the floor with the whole Avengers roster. So yeah, don't sleep on this guy. He's truly an elite fighter, one of the best fighters in the entire galaxy. Wenwu was a legendary and mythical figure, rising to power throughout history after finding the incredibly powerful 10 rings. He used the rings to conquer entire empires, establishing himself as the greatest warlord in the world's history. The 10 rings grant him superhuman strength, speed, and durability. But more than that, well, the rings themselves are some of the greatest weapons in the universe, allow him to fight on par with just about anyone. And as if that wasn't enough, Wenwu is also one of the most skilled fighters on Earth, with near millennia of experience. And the best fighter in the MCU? Well, I think it's gotta be the guy who can beat Wenwu, his son, Shang-Chi. Yeah, Shang-Chi is one of the best fighters on the planet. He's a master martial artist and was trained to be the best by some of the best fighters out there. On top of that, well, Shang-Chi has been taught otherworldly and mystical fighting styles too, fighting styles that pretty much no one else in the MCU has mastered. There's really no doubt in my mind, when it comes to pure hand-to-hand skill, Shang-Chi is the best of the best.